JP's podcast. I'm your host, Dr. JP, and today we will talk about what's wrong with right now unless you think about it, with sailor Bob Adamson. In 1975, Bob went to India to live in an ashram. In 1976 and 1977, he spent 12 months with Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj in Bombay. Since this time, thousands of seekers from all over the world have come to Bob's home in Melbourne, Australia, for individual sessions and to join regular weekly group meetings. At the time of our recording, Bob was 95 years old and just recovering from a big surgery.
How are you doing? I heard you had a big operation.
Yep. Recovering slowly. I hope so, anyway.
That's good. Let me just check all the tech stuff here. So I'm recording this on Skype and also on a separate recorder here. So all should be in order. Good. How do you feel about us taking about anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes for this call? Would that be okay for you?
Well, probably. I'm a bit tired, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah. Let's aim for 30 minutes. So that'll be, we have plenty of stuff to cover, and I think, we can manage.
Whatever.
Yeah. Let me show you around a bit, Bob, before we start. So I live here in Finland on the western coast. This is the small island where we live. This is an old picture of our island. We have about 900 people living here. It's a very beautiful place. There's a church here. This is our house. And I'm right about here. This is my office right about here. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a very big island.
No, about 900 people.
Oh. Well, you wouldn't be overcrowded then.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about if we just jump right in to the conversation?
Whatever, JP, whatever.
Yeah, that's good. That's kind of my motto. So, here's a little quote from a lovely book by James Braha, is it called Living Reality?
Yes.
And he writes there that non-duality is an extremely counterintuitive paradigm. Its teachings contradict habitual beliefs perpetuated since one's earliest memories. So, how would you define non-duality for somebody who's not very familiar with the subject?
Well, non-duality just simply means not two. It's only one essence that pattern, shapes and forms experiences expressing as this manifestation. And it seemingly divides, but it's inseparable. It's seemingly divisible, but it's indivisible. You can't divide it or separate it. Everything is that and that only. But they call it a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomenal is that which appears to be. So all this manifestation is that one essence appearing and expressing as all these so-called other. But there's only that. That is all there is. And that's the great mantra, I am that. Mm-hmm. And innately we know that because that's the chair you're sitting on, that's the space in the room, that's the island in which you live. Everything is that which we discriminate with the word, the label. How many words were you born with?
None.
And you didn't have any words for the first couple of years of your life. Then we took on words and we've taken the word to be real without investigating it. But this is the word, the thing. Take the word water, try and drink it, or swim in it, or drown in it. The word fire, try and cook with it, eat yourself with it. You can't with the word. So what's this word I or me?
Hmm.
When you look into it. When you investigate it, we believe it is this separate entity, this individual, this person. But investigate it to see what it is. Where does the word person come from? Come from the ancient Latin persona, the mask. And what it's pointing out is we've got a conceptual image of ourselves. An image made up of concepts, past events, experience, taking it to be real and continually reinforcing it in that belief. But then again, when you look into the word belief, the dictionary definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. It means we haven't reasoned it out, we're just taking it for granted. Accepting some alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. When you put your belief to that test, they mightn't stand up. And if you see the false is false, what must you be left with? The truth. And that's another scriptural saying, know the truth. And the truth will set you free. What is there to be free from? Just the belief that you're other than that. That's what we've all taken on and functioning from, a belief.
What does it take? What do you think? What does it take for one to enter the so-called gateless gate? In the sense that so many people just take on face value the reality of self. So why do some people? What is needed for somebody to enter the kingdom?
Well, some of us, we go along with what we're taught to believe and believed in. But some of us, when you start looking into it, realise this is not good enough. There's got to be more to it than that. So you cast your net out a little bit further and look into something else. And amazingly enough, it takes you where you've got to go.
When you were a younger man, you cast your net in India. You were studying under Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yeah.
What made you go there? What was your life like when you were a younger man?
Well, it wasn't too good. I finished up an OO for a deadbeat, a stiff. And didn't believe in any higher power or God or anything at all. And I was near the very end of it all. But you've heard of Alcoholics Anonymous, I suppose. Well, that fellowship, it was pretty new in Australia then.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody told me I should go there and I wouldn't have a bar of it. But things got so bad, where else can I go? So I was forced to have a look at it. And amazingly enough, when I went there, I stopped drinking. But when you stop drinking, you get cleaned up, and if you be able to get a job and employed, a few bickies in the bin and not doing anything more about it. They had 12 steps on the wall. They were talking about a God. And I didn't believe in any God or anything like that. So I said, well, I don't need these people anymore. And I walked out, and I'll be right, and picked up the drink again. Finished up worse than I was before. But somehow or other I managed to get back into the fellowship. And this time, when I went in, somebody handed me a book. It was written by a Catholic priest who was an alcoholic, called Sobriety and Beyond. And in the introduction, he said, we alcoholics are given a second chance at life. And that hit me, boom. You've been here, and you've been a deadbeat, and you got back again, you're a deadbeat again, and you stopped again. I've been given a second chance. And then underneath was the big question. How well do you use that second chance? And that was like another punch in the guts, And it came to me then, there's only one way you can use it. Find out what it is that's giving you that second chance. And a little creak in the arm, a crack in the arm, maybe there is such a thing as a higher power or a power greater than it. Maybe. And that little maybe, that little crack was the key to it. Because when I'd go into the fellowship and I drank the first time, 2 other fellows I knew had broken away and got back on the grog again. And one had jumped out of the window at a Federal Hotel in Collins Street and the other one had shot himself. I'd been given a second chance. And of course that started looking me into the steps, and they're talking about a God as you understand him. I had to try and understand. And that talked me into being a Westerner. I looked into Christianity first, and then everything and everything else. I'm up on stages getting dunked in baths and baptized, all sorts of crap going. But it kept going, and it turned me to the east. The Maharishi came out here in 1962, I think it was. And I heard him speak. And what he was saying registered and rang a bell. So I started going along to that and followed that for a while. And then after a while, that took me to other things. And then I think it was Muktananda and a few other people along the way. And that finished up making me want to go to India. So I went to India and in the Muktananda's ashram. Spent time there. And there people were pointing me to the Nisargadatta. Said, go and see this fella or read this book. And I was loyal to the Guru. No, you're supposed to have the Guru and stick to him. I wouldn't have a bar of that. But one day I was in a bookshop in India, and I'm looking for a book. I used to pick up all sorts of books and read them. Couldn't find anything. I'm walking out the door, and the bloke behind the counter said, this is the book you should read. It was I Am That. Now I'd been pointed to I Am That in the ashram. People had told me this is the book you should read, and who to go and say. But I said, no, I'm going to look to Nanda. But this time I said, well, this is too much of a coincidence. I've got to take notice of it. So I opened it and read a couple of pages. And what I read rang a bell. And his address was in the front. And that took me round to see him. And that was it. And over the next 12 months, I continued to see him. And I recognised what he was saying. And then there was no need to be there anymore.
So when you left Nisargadatta after 12 months, was there how was the shift? Was it a sudden? Was it a gradual? Was there a like post-awakening process?
Well, what he told me, he says, you're not the body or the mind. And I'd heard that many times. We all have. I am that, you know. Mm-hmm. But this time it rang a bell. And I saw clearly that I wasn't a person. I wasn't with it. And I said, I'll never be caught in the mind again. But I walked out the door and I was. But it wasn't the same because I had seen through it. And even though it all coming back to me again, I'd say, hang on a minute. You saw through this, have another look. See if you were seeing truly and clearly. And every time you investigated, then you'd see what you were seeing, you'd see the truth and know the truth. And every time you saw it, it'd get a stronger hold until it took over completely.
When it took over completely,
well, that took many years. It wasn't overnight. It's still going on to this day.
Exactly. Yeah, is it like an unfolding?
Yes, a recognising. You've cognised, you've seen it all before, so you recognise it. Recognise it.
Yes.
And the Buddha calls it a cognising emptiness. And he turns around the way and tells you that emptiness is form. We think we cognise the emptiness, we don't. It's the emptiness itself that's doing the cognising or knowing. and emptiness is form. And he turns around the other way and said the forms are nothing but the emptiness. So all this emptiness all around you and all these forms, they're already that. You are that. It's the one essence. Patterning, experience, expressing is everything. And I am that. That's the great matter. The I am is not when the Sakata says stay with the I amness. People think he's staying with the words, repeat the words as a mantra. He's not. The I amness represents that sense of presence. You know that you are right now. How would you express it? You'd say, I am JP, don't you?
Or just I, just the sense of I, without any amness or JP-ness, just the I.
But we out of habit, we put the JP in it and the habit on it initially.
Yeah, sure. It's habitual, like you know.
Yeah, so we've got to see through see through the habit.
Yeah, exactly. So the arising of the self, arising of the JP-ness is just a habit.
Yes. It's words. How many words were you born with? You weren't born with any word. So, but you lived for the first couple of years of your life without the word. So that points out that you are prior to the word. And word is only mind. You're prior to, before that. You picked up words from about 2.5 on. We learnt words and taken the words to be real. And I pointed out earlier, the word's not the thing, it's not the real. It's just a sound, a vibration, which we might make a label out of.
When you left Nisargadatta and you had this period of maybe we could call it stabilizing.
Yeah.
What happened to your everyday life? Because, you know, at least in my experience, waking up doesn't solve these everyday problems we have as human beings, human animals.
Yeah. Well, you know, I recognise it going on. When I came back, I went back to the fellowship. Wanted to shout it from the house. Got to tell these people about that, you know. Like Moses on the mountain. Tell them who sent you.
How did that go?
Well, went down like a heavy rock in the sea. You know. Nobody wanted to take any notice. So I'd fit it in whenever I could when I'd asked to speak, you know. And after a few months, a young woman, about 25, came up and says, I like what you said and I want what you have. And that was the key to open up on her. And 45 years later, she's still around and still going strong. And then after that, a bit of a gap there, there's a Irish bloke, dirty on the world and everybody in it, wild Irishman. Went in, brought up and as a Catholic with the priest and that, and he was crooked on the world. And he used to thump the table in his talk, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And in his talk, he said, I'm trying to find myself. And I went up to him after the meeting and I thought, well, you're really trying to find yourself. I expected to get a smack in the mouth from him, you know. And he said, yeah. So I was able to talk this stuff to him. And he heard it. And a few years later, he was coming around and the wife had died and he'd sold his house. He was living in a boarding house. And I was back here at a health food shop at the time and he used to come around and stack the fridge. He came in one day and said, I can't stack the fridge anymore, it's giving me a cold in the kidney. I said, okay. Anyway, he came back a few days later. He says, it's not the fridge. He says, I've got the liver. So he had liver cancer. And he says, I'm going to die. And he says, I'm in the boarding house. He sold his house when his wife died. And he says, they're not going to let me stay there. I want somewhere to stay. So we put him up above the shop, the red room there. And the doctor used to come in and look at him, you know. And the doctor was so amazed at the way he was handling death, the doctor started coming to the meetings too. And so it went on for there, and it's been going on for 40 odd years.
So that's a great segue. What happens to our sense of being mortal? These bodies are mortal. What happens to our sense of being a mortal being after waking up?
to true nature?
Well, are you a mortal being? You can't negate your beingness, but you call yourself a human being. And if you believe in God, you'll call God the supreme being. What if you take away that label human and take away that label supreme? Try and separate yourself now if you're not discriminating with the label.
Mm.
And you
It's
say
just being.
you're just pure being. And being is not becoming. Trying to become something or get something implies a future time. When you look into time, you see time's a mental concept also. Is there a past if you don't think about it? There's none. Or a future if you don't think about it, you can't. So time's a mental concept. But you can't negate your beingness. Try and tell me you're not.
Is it out of boredom that we construct the self then? Because just being is without time, without space, without past, without future. Is it out of boredom that the self seems to appear?
No, the self seems to appear because we're told we were separate. You are this person. You know, when you learn words from your parents. Parents said, you're little JP. And you took that on, instead of saying, I am the absolute, I am the totality, I am JP, I am this little child. So we're taking on the idea that we're a separate entity. We focus on that and believe in that all the time. But when they talk about this non-duality, one without a second, they're saying it's absolute. It's not two. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing, it wouldn't be absolute. What can you take away from it? Nothing, it wouldn't be absolute. So if you recognise that I am the absolute, you can't go around saying it, but you can know it for yourself. They'll put you in a funny farm, but you know you are that absolute, you are that totality. Who can be superior to you?
Well, there is just the absolute, so there is no other.
Who can be inferior to you?
There is just the absolute, there is no one
that's
below.
Right.
So that is...
And what would you want from anybody else? Nothing, because it's all absolute. So it takes all this human crap that's going on, the beliefs in this and the beliefs trying to become, do this and do that, at the expense of others. When there are no others and you know you are the reality, it puts you in that place. You're free.
Exactly. And one of the questions that I hear quite often is the unpracticality of a non-dual realization or non-dual philosophy, which, for me is bogus. But how do you see, what is the ethical dimension of this realization of non-dual realization? What is the ethical dimension of it?
What do you mean by that?
I mean that if we realize there is no one below us because we are the all, we are the absolute, we are the oneness, I see that as implicating a very, very pragmatic moral imperative, in the sense that we treat others as ourselves because we are the other.
Yes.
Many people don't realize that. Many people see this as a frivolous exercise in armchair philosophy.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. There are the many that don't. The majority of people believe they are that sensitive, that personal entity. But the word person comes from the ancient Latin persona, the mask. This concept we've got about ourselves is a mask of concepts, words which hide our true nature. The true nature is that. That is all there is. I am that. Existence, consciousness, bliss. Name and form. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be. The body, mind, Nama, Rupa, they say is Maya. It's illusionary. And they call this manifestation a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's all appearing and appearing to be solid, substantial and real. But when you investigate it, it's not solid or substantial or real. It's just like a dream. Nisargadatta says, you are dreaming a dream you call the world. He says, stop looking for ways out. He says, the dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. He says, love all of it, or none of it. And this is the thing, the rest will be done for you by the same life essence that brought you into existence. And that's true. When you get yourself out of the road, that life takes over. And it's living you, it's beating your heart, it's breathing you, growing your hair on your fingernails, digesting your food. People call it God, a lot of people call it God, I don't. Because you can get confused with that term. Because all the different traditions and got different labels of what this God is. And it tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's all that God is the Word, God. All things were made by Him, by the Word. And isn't that so? We've got words or labels on everything. There's the tree, that's the flower, that's the bird. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. Take the words off, what have you got? Take the words off right now, what are you? To put it in words, you can say you're not unaware. You are aware presently, right in this moment. So you are that. And it's only it's only the words that can discriminate it. But when you know the word's not the real, you can say it, but you're not bound by it. So all you can do is laugh.
Pretty much. I mean, I have a saying that all this would be sad if it wasn't so funny. I mean, sad in the sense that we beings, without the label human or supreme, we just beings as a verb, narrow ourselves to be these static, what do you call it? Nouns. Body minds, nouns. Yeah. I mean, we could have it all, as we are the all, and then we trade it for one of these units.
Yes. They say the false can't stand up to investigation. So when you investigate the false, it's true. If it's not the truth, they say, know the truth will set you free. When you see the false is false, you're free of it.
But why doesn't people want to see that? A great teacher, Georg Gurdjieff, said that the hardest thing for man to give up is their own suffering. Yeah. Why is it so hard for us?
Because we've got that belief that we are this individual, we are this person, we have some separate power of ourselves, or can do things. But are you the body? Are you the mind? Have a look. You say my body. Don't you say my car, my coat, my house? You know you're not the car, the coat or the house. Maybe you're not the body either. And when you look into it, you see it's true. What's the body made up of? Made of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space. Take the air out of your body, see how long you last without that element there. Take the water out of it, you soon get either. Take the fire, the body temperature, you get hypothermia. Get off the earth, you can get out of space. You're not separate from those elements. And all of those elements can be broken down to subatomic particles into pure energy. So all the body is a vibrating pattern of energy. What about this thing called mind? Well, show me a thing called mind. You say, my mind. Show me your mind. You can't find anything at all there that can say, this is mine. And you look at mind. What's mind? All mind is a sound, word, idea, concept. What's the sound, word, idea, or concept? All vibration, sounds of vibration. All movement of energy. And that's what Einstein told you. There's nothing but energy. That's all there is. Vibrates into different patterns, shapes and forms. And we take the patterns, shapes and forms to be real, but they're not. The Nisargadatta tells you there's nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. And that's true when you look at it. Take that word, imagination, and break it down to image in or imagine.
Mm.
And that's all we're doing. We've got this conceptual image or that conceptual image, take it to be real, and aligning ourselves with it. And look at the frustration, the fear, the anger, the depression, the guilt it causes when you do that. Nothing can trouble you if you're not imaging it. Now you look in the mirror, what do you see?
The face.
You see a reflection or an image. You can't say that image or reflection is not there. But go up to the mirror and try and pull it out. You can't say it is. So that's either is nor is not. And that's the same with this manifestation. It appears to be so, but when you look into it, it is not. So we've got this conceptual image about ourselves. Oh, I'm Bob the Australian, I'm a good fella or not so good. This happened to me, that happened to me. A long story of concepts, ideas. And that brings up the fear, the anxiety, the distress, the guilt, the shame. All the psychological suffering comes about because I'm conceptualising it. Now, have a look at it and see. It's all happening this believed in me. Now, all that psychological suffering is the cause. Me is the cause of my fear, my anger, my jealousy, my envy, my whatever else it is. And they are the effects, the anger, the fear, the depression, are the effects of the cause. Cause and effect. Isn't that what they call so-called karma? What happens if we're not relating to a cause? And ask yourself the simple question. Can there be effect if I'm not relating to a cause? It's impossible. So I can be rid of the karma by saying that the cause is a fiction. And it's me, the conceptual image is the cause. And the effects must drop away. Where does it leave you? Free. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What is there to be free from? Only the belief that we've taken on. The belief that we took on when we were separate. And that's the belief we've carried around with us all the time. That I am the separate entity that has to become something. But being will never be becoming. Because becoming implies a future time. And when you look into time, you'll see time's a mental concept also. There's only this presence awareness. Nothing to do, nothing to be, nowhere to go, nothing to see. Relax and let it rest in its uncontrived singularity, as they say.
This is so beautiful, Bob. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a two-way street.
This is 32 minutes, so I promised you about 30 minutes. I bet you're tired as well, so we could just end here. This just, I could talk with you, listen to you for ages, although, as we know, that's kind of a concept.
But you hear it, you got to let it out. Let it flow.
Exactly. And that's one of the, like an afterthought is, what motivates you at your age? You're 95. The body is 95. What motivates you to keep on doing this?
Well, the very life essence itself.
Yeah.
It just happens that way.
Exactly, isn't it? It's like I play the guitar, so it's what makes you play the guitar. I don't know, but it's fun.
Yeah. Yes, and you get some pleasure out of it, and you bring pleasure to other people.
Yeah. You want to, I don't know, probably the wrong word, but you want to perform. You want to express. It's expressing itself.
Yes.
And this, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I will let you know when I've edited the episode when it comes out, and I will let you know by email.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You take care.
I will take care. Have a great evening. Say hi to Kat as well.
I'll
She
do
was
that.
really helpful in setting this up.
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.